I wasn't supposed to be home that morning. I was supposed to be in downtown Houston, stuck in traffic and rehearsing the talking points for a client meeting I'd scheduled myself. I'd ironed my shirt the night before, charged my Bluetooth headset, even set an extra alarm because I'm that kind of guy, always early, always prepared. But when I opened my eyes around 6, I knew something was off. My head was pounding, like someone was squeezing the base of my skull with a clamp, and the light filtering through the blinds felt like it was trying to drill holes in my brain. Migraine. I hadn't had one in months, but when they hit, they didn't mess around. So I called in, emailed the client, rescheduled for Friday, then texted Savannah to let her know I'd be working from home. No response. Figured she was still asleep or maybe already out for her morning run. After downing some ibuprofen and a greasy breakfast sandwich, I drove back home. It wasn't even 9 yet, and the streets were still waking up. Our neighborhood has that postcard vibe. Quiet, trees that bloom too early, neighbors that wave whether they know your name or not. So when I turned onto our street and saw the unfamiliar black SUV parked halfway down the block, it stuck out like a coffee stain on a wedding dress. The SUV had Louisiana plates. Not uncommon around here, I guess. We're not far from the border. But still, there was something about it. Newer model, tinted windows, spotless exterior. Parked just a few feet from our mailbox. I slowed down without realizing it. It's hard to explain the feeling. Nothing had happened yet. No obvious reason to be suspicious. But I've always trusted my gut, and something about that car didn't sit right. I parked in the driveway, cut the engine, and sat there for a moment. Just watching. Waiting. For what? I don't even know. Maybe I thought someone would step out, someone I'd recognize. But the SUV just sat there, silent and still. I got out, grabbed my laptop bag, and walked up to the door. Unlocked. Not unheard of, but again, Savannah always locked the door. Even if she was home. Especially if she was home alone. I hesitated before pushing it open, like I was stepping into someone else's house. The air inside felt heavy. Not hot, just still. Like the house had been holding its breath. I heard voices. Low. Muffled. Coming from the living room. I moved slowly. Not because I wanted to sneak up on anyone, but because my body just didn't want to go faster. Like part of me already knew what I was about to see. And then I saw them. Savannah was sitting on the far end of the couch. Legs crossed. Hands resting on her lap like she was trying to appear relaxed. Across from her sat a man I had never seen before. Early 30s, maybe. Tan skin, short beard, dark shirt rolled up at the sleeves. He looked like the kind of guy who always knew where the good coffee was, who probably drove stick shift for the hell of it. They weren't touching, but they were close. Closer than strangers. Leaning in, talking softly. Too softly for me to make out the words. I took one step into the room, and that's when Savannah looked up and saw me. She flinched. Not visibly, maybe, but I caught it, the way her posture straightened a little too fast. The way her smile appeared half a second too late. "Oh, Ben," she said, louder than necessary, like a student caught texting during class. "Hey, you're home early. I thought you had that meeting." Her voice was cheerful, forced, like someone slapping a Band-Aid on a bullet wound. "Headache," I said quietly. "Rescheduled it." Her eyes darted toward the man beside her. He stood up slowly, casually, like this wasn't weird. Like I hadn't just walked into my own home and found my wife on the couch with a stranger. "This is Cade," she said, gesturing between us. "Ashley's boyfriend. You remember Ashley from my book club? Cade's planning to propose soon, and we were just brainstorming ideas. You know, something romantic and memorable." Cade gave me a nod. That lazy kind of smile you give someone when you don't want to seem rude, but also don't care enough to try harder. He extended his hand. I shook it, not because I wanted to, but because that's what you do. Reflex. Politeness. Civility. "Nice to meet you," he said. His voice was low, relaxed. Like this was all perfectly ordinary. Savannah jumped in before I could reply. He was thinking about doing something on the hiking trail where they had their first date. Maybe hiding the ring in a geocache or something like that. "Isn't that cute?" She was talking fast. Too fast. filling space. Her eyes didn't meet mine for more than a second at a time. I forced a smile. Nodded. Yeah. Sounds thoughtful. They sat back down. I didn't join them. I just stood there for a minute, gripping the strap of my laptop bag like it was an anchor. Cade didn't say much after that. Mostly just nodded while Savannah kept talking, bouncing from idea to idea like she was pitching a rom-com script. I barely heard a word. My mind was spinning. Not racing, spinning. Like it couldn't decide which thought to latch onto. Why was he here? Why was he here when I wasn't supposed to be? Why was she acting like I'd walked in on a business meeting instead of a secret? They weren't doing anything wrong. Technically. No touching. No kisses. No whispers that I could hear. But my stomach wouldn't settle. My heart wouldn't calm down. Something felt off. I've known Savannah for 10 years. I know her habits, her tells. And right then, she was lying. I didn't have proof. Just instinct. But it was loud. Eventually, Cade stood to leave. Savannah walked him out, her voice carrying down the hallway, still bright and chirpy. I stood in the kitchen, staring at the fridge but not seeing anything. When she came back, she gave me a tight smile and kissed me on the cheek like she always did. Sorry if that was weird, she said. He just really wanted a female opinion on the proposal stuff. Ashley's kinda hard to surprise. I nodded again, said nothing. She went upstairs to shower. I stood there, motionless, the weight of 1,000 quiet questions pressing down on my chest. And somewhere deep inside, I knew this wasn't the end of it. It was the beginning. After that morning, I couldn't stop thinking about him. Cade. That name started to echo through my head like a song I didn't want to hear. Every time Savannah's phone buzzed, every time she stepped out of the room to take a call, every time she told me she was going to the gym or meeting a friend, I thought of him. At first, I told myself I was being paranoid. I replayed her explanation in my head like a courtroom recording. Ashley's boyfriend? Planning to propose? Brainstorming ideas. Completely harmless. Except, something about it didn't sit right. That look she gave me when I walked in. That over-the-top tone in her voice. And the fact that I'd never heard his name before. Not once. Not from Savannah. Not in any story about her book club. Not in any random conversation. If she and Ashley were so close, wouldn't Cade have come up before? I didn't ask about him that night. I didn't ask the next day either. I just watched. And what I started to notice, it wasn't anything big. It never is at first. Just small, subtle things. A shift in energy. A new pattern in someone you thought you knew like the back of your hand. Savannah started going to the gym more often. 3, 4 times a week. Sometimes twice in one day. I'd ask how her workout went, and she'd answer with these vague one-liners. Exhausting or same old. No stories, no details, no playlist she loved. No weird lady on the treadmill next to her. Just silence where there used to be conversation. Her phone started living on silent. Not just at night, which was normal, but all the time. Face down. And when it buzzed, she'd glance at it, then put it away like it didn't matter. And then there were the hugs. Or, more accurately, the lack of them. I tried to kiss her one evening while she was unloading groceries. Just a simple lean-in from behind. Something we'd done 1,000 times. But she shifted sideways, pretended to be reaching for a bag of spinach, and my arms landed on empty space. I laughed it off, made some joke about her ninja moves, but she barely smiled. The space between us grew slowly, like a slow leak you don't notice until the floorboards start to warp. I told myself I was imagining it, that this was stress. Work had been chaotic for both of us. She was working more hours, I was working later nights. Maybe we were just off sync. Relationships have rhythms, right? Peaks and valleys. I tried not to make something out of nothing, but it was something. It started becoming impossible to ignore the inconsistencies. Savannah would say she was grabbing coffee with Megan, her coworker. Then a few days later, she'd mention grabbing sushi with Taylor from work. At the exact same time and date, she'd claimed to be with Megan. I didn't say anything at first. I just started writing the details down. Literally. In the Notes app on my phone. Tuesday, 4:30 p.m. Said she met Megan at Blue Bottle. Friday, 6 p.m. Said sushi with Taylor. But Friday she told me she had that late meeting. I know how insane that sounds, tracking your own wife's words like a detective building a case. But I wasn't trying to catch her. Not yet. I was trying to prove to myself that I wasn't crazy, that I wasn't reading too much into a coincidence, that the voice in the back of my head wasn't screaming into an empty void. But the cracks kept showing. Her gym clothes started showing up freshly washed, twice as often. I'd find workout gear in the dryer I hadn't seen her wear once. And her perfume, God, the perfume, she started wearing it to the gym. Who does that? And still, no mention of Cade. Not in passing. Not in updates about Ashley. Not once. He just vanished back into the shadows. Like he never existed. Except I knew he did. That face, that fake smile, that hand I shook. It kept flashing in my mind. Like a ghost haunting the edges of a memory I didn't trust anymore. He became this figure I couldn't shake, like a thread in a sweater that you know you shouldn't pull, but your fingers can't stop tugging. And here's the part that messed with me the most. I didn't want to accuse her. Not because I was afraid of the truth, but because if I said the words out loud, if I asked her, "Are you seeing someone else?" and she said yes, then that would be it. I didn't know if I was ready for it, for the unraveling, for the fallout, for watching our entire life split open like a rotten fruit. So instead, I played the good husband. I brought home takeout. I cleaned the kitchen. I rubbed her back on nights she said she had headaches. And I watched. I listened. She'd leave for a hot yoga class and come back with her hair barely damp. No sweat. No water bottle. No mat. She stopped inviting me to her company events. Said it was just internal stuff. And I believed her. Or pretended to. I even asked about Ashley, casually one night while we were brushing our teeth. "How's she doing? You still helping Cade with the proposal thing?" She didn't flinch. She didn't stumble. She just spat toothpaste into the sink and said, "Oh, he figured it out already. I think he's doing it next month. Hiking trip or something. Next month." They, non-committal. I smiled. Sounds nice. That was it. It wasn't just the lies. It was how easily they came out of her. How she didn't hesitate. How she made it sound like an afterthought. I lay awake that night staring at the ceiling, trying to remember the last time I touched her without her pulling away. The last time she laughed and it wasn't tight and forced. The last time she looked at me like she used to, like I was hers. But I couldn't find it. Cade. That name had taken root in the back of my brain like a splinter. I tried searching him online. First name only, no last name. Useless. No social media hits, nothing that linked him to Ashley or to Savannah. I even checked Ashley's Instagram, no photos of her with any guy. It was all solo pics and brunch *TS. The paranoia started creeping into places I didn't want it. I'd find myself scanning Savannah's texts when she left her phone unattended. Even though there was never anything obvious. She kept it clean. Too clean. One night, I sat in my car for an hour after work, engine off, just sitting in the driveway, watching the light in the bedroom window, wondering who was on the other end of the glow from her screen, wondering who she laughed with when she said she was tired, wondering if I was already too late. It was a Wednesday. I remember that because I'd been in back-to-back Zoom meetings all morning and had planned to work late to catch up. But around 2 p.m., my last call of the day got canceled. I figured I'd surprise Savannah, maybe grab dinner on the way home, try to inject some sort of normalcy back into our life, maybe talk, maybe pretend I wasn't losing sleep over all the half-truths. So I drove home earlier than usual, window cracked, music low. I rehearsed small talk in my head, some easy joke, a light conversation starter. I was tired of walking on eggshells. Maybe I just wanted to feel like a husband again. When I pulled up to the house, everything looked normal. Her car was in the driveway. No sign of that black SUV from before. No lights on in the front windows. Quiet. But the second I stepped inside, I heard music. Not loud, but definitely not background noise either. Acoustic guitar, low and slow. One of those Spotify chill playlists she used to put on during wine nights. Except she hadn't done that in a long time. I set my bag down, closed the front door gently. Something in me told me to move slowly. The way the air felt, warm, lazy, like it didn't want to be disturbed. I took my shoes off. The floorboards creaked under me, but the music kept playing. Then I heard it, laughter. Soft, easy. Hers. Coming from upstairs. I walked like I was sleepwalking. Not rushing. Not panicked. Just focused. I didn't want to assume. I wanted to be wrong so badly. It hurt. The bedroom door was cracked open. I paused at the top of the stairs, heart pounding so loud I thought it might give me away. I could hear voices. Savannah's, for sure. The other one deeper, slower. Cade. I pushed the door open just enough to see inside. She was sitting on the bed, legs tucked underneath her, a glass of red wine in her hand. She looked different, lighter, like she'd exhaled something she'd been holding in. Her face, God, her face was glowing in a way I hadn't seen in over a year. Not even on vacation. Not even at our anniversary dinner. Next to her, sitting way too close, was him. Same guy. Same laid-back posture. Cade. The one who shook my hand in my own living room, smiling like it was all above board. They weren't touching, but they didn't need to be. Her hand was resting casually on his knee. His wine glass mirrored hers. They were angled toward each other like gravity pulled them that way. I didn't say anything at first. I just stood there silently, taking it in, etching the moment into my brain with painful clarity. Then Savannah noticed me. She froze mid-sentence, wine glass halfway to her lips. Her eyes widened just for a second, but then, like a reflex, she sat up straighter, cleared her throat. "Ben," she said, like she hadn't been caught in the middle of something. I didn't hear you come in." Cade didn't flinch. He didn't rush to stand or stammer like some guilty teenager. He just looked at me, calm, unbothered, smug even. Savannah set her glass down and stood quickly. Her voice took on that same bright, overly rehearsed tone. "We were just talking," she said. "Cade came by to run another idea past me. For the proposal. I told you, right? He's planning something special for Ashley." I stared at her. Another proposal. That's what she went with. Another proposal? I asked, voice low. "Didn't you already figure that out? I thought it was next month. On a trail or something." She blinked. The moment cracked. She opened her mouth, but nothing came out. Cade stood slowly, almost casually, and set his wine glass on the nightstand like this was his place. Like he belonged there. I looked at him, really looked at him this time. There was no panic in his eyes. No shame. Just a steady, unshaken confidence. Like he'd already won. That's when I knew. This wasn't some misunderstanding. He wasn't just a friend. He wasn't Ashley's anything. He'd never been. And Savannah, my wife, my best friend, the person I thought I knew better than anyone, had lied to my face. Not just once. Not just to cover something up. She had built a lie. Crafted it. Maintained it. Protected it like it was something precious. I stepped inside the room. Just 2 steps. Enough to make them uncomfortable. But they didn't move. I looked at her, and all I could see were the pieces. Of every moment I had doubted myself. Every time I told myself I was being insecure. Every hug she dodged. Every gym trip. Every late night catch-up at work. Every text she tilted away from me. It had always been him. I turned and walked out. Didn't slam the door. Didn't yell. I just walked. Steady. Like I was leaving something I couldn't carry anymore. I went downstairs, grabbed my keys. My heart was thudding against my chest so loud I couldn't think straight. The air inside the house felt too thick to breathe. I didn't look back. Didn't stop walking until I was in the car. Hands gripping the wheel like I might fall apart if I let go. The engine roared to life, and I pulled away from the curb without a destination in mind. My phone buzzed in my pocket, but I didn't check it. I just drove. I passed the corner store, the diner, the gas station where we used to grab snacks at midnight. I passed 1,000 familiar things that suddenly felt foreign. Eventually, I parked at some random gas station off the highway. I sat there, engine off, car vibrating with silence. I didn't cry. Not yet. I didn't scream or punch the dashboard. I just sat, frozen, like a man who had just realized he'd been living in someone else's story. I don't know how long I sat in that parking lot. Engine off, windows cracked just enough to let the noise of the highway hum around me. The gas station lights buzzed overhead like they were trying to say something, but I didn't hear a word. My mind was just blank, not spinning, not racing, just a flat line. It's a strange kind of silence, the one that comes after the truth punches a hole through your chest. Eventually, I pulled out my phone. No missed calls, no texts. Savannah hadn't reached out, not yet. Part of me expected her to, part of me didn't. But there was one name I wanted to see. Jarrett. We'd been friends since we were 10. Met in Little League when I tripped over my own shoelaces running to second base and took him down with me. We've been like brothers ever since. He's the kind of guy who shows up without needing to be asked. The one who'll call you on your crap but never make you feel smaller for it. We drifted a little over the years, life stuff, but I knew if I texted him, he'd come. And I needed someone who wouldn't say, "I'm sorry." I needed someone who'd tell me what I didn't want to hear. So I sent the message. Me, you home? I need to get out of my head. Don't want to be alone. 5 minutes passed. 10. Then my phone buzzed. Jarrett. Meet me at the Oak in 20. First rounds on me. That was it. No questions. No fluff. Just Jarrett being Jarrett. I pulled back onto the road, barely remembering how I got there. The streets looked washed out, like someone had turned down the saturation on the whole world. My stomach was in knots, but not from hunger. I hadn't eaten all day, but the idea of food made me nauseous. The Oak was a hole-in-the-wall bar tucked behind a strip mall, the kind of place that smelled like old wood and stale beer but had the best fries in the county. Jarrett and I used to come here in our 20s when we were broke and full of bad decisions. I hadn't stepped inside in years, but the moment I did, it was like stepping into a memory I wasn't sure I deserved to keep. He was already there, sitting at our usual booth in the back, nursing a pint of whatever IPA was on tap that week. He was still in gym shorts and a hoodie, probably came straight from the basketball court. He didn't stand up when he saw me, just raised his glass and said, "Took you long enough." I slid into the booth and let the weight of the night settle into my shoulders. He didn't ask, didn't say anything at first. Just pushed a second pint toward me and waited. I took a sip. Bitter, cold, necessary. Then I finally said it. I walked in on her. His eyes didn't widen. He didn't flinch. Just nodded slowly. With the guy. I nodded. Cade. Jarrett exhaled like he'd been holding it in for a while. Knew it. That stung. Not because he said it, but because I could tell he meant it. You knew. I didn't know, no, he said, leaning back. But, Ben, come on, man. You've been off for months. The way you talk about her, how you second-guess everything she says. I didn't want to push. Figured you'd come to me when you were ready. I ran a hand through my hair, then over my face like it might somehow change the expression glued to it. She lied to my face, I muttered. Said he was Ashley's boyfriend. Gave me this whole story about planning a proposal. And I bought it. You wanted to believe her, he said, no judgment in his tone. We all do. No one wants to be the guy who asks their wife if she's sleeping with someone else. That's not a role anybody signs up for. I stared down at the table, tracing a worn groove in the wood with my thumb. It wasn't just Cade, I said quietly. Jarrett raised an eyebrow. I mean, I don't have proof, I continued. But it doesn't feel like this started with him. There were signs. Small ones. Stuff I ignored. Her being distant. Always on her phone. Weird excuses. I thought it was me. That maybe I wasn't enough. Jarrett leaned forward, voice low. Let me ask you something. Are you sure Cade was the first? I didn't answer right away, because I wasn't sure. There was no way to be. The idea that she'd done this before. That Cade was just the latest, not the beginning. Wrapped around my chest like a vice. I don't know, I admitted. And that's the part that's messing me up. I don't know what's real anymore. I don't know what parts of my marriage were actually mine and what parts she gave to someone else. He let that sit for a while, then said, Look, man, You can drive yourself insane chasing every detail, every lie, every time she said, "I love you," and whether she meant it. Or you can look at the facts, you trusted her and she broke it. Doesn't matter if it was once or 100 times. The damage is the same. I wanted to argue, wanted to say it did matter, that it would be worse if there were others, that if this was a pattern and not a mistake, it would somehow mean more. But deep down I knew he was right. It didn't matter how many cracks there were. The mirror was already shattered. Jarrett flagged down the bartender for another round. "I'll be honest, bro," he said. "You're gonna go through all the stages. Anger, sadness, bargaining. Hell, you might even try to forgive her just to feel like you're in control again." "I don't think I could," I said. He gave a small shrug. "You'd be surprised what you'll try when you're drowning." That one hit harder than I wanted to admit. The next drink hit faster than the first. I wasn't drunk, not yet, but I could feel the numbness starting to creep in. Not the bad kind. The kind that lets you breathe for a second without everything caving in. "I don't even know where to go," I said. "I don't want to sleep in that house. I don't want to look at her. But I don't want to make a scene either. I want to disappear." "You want to crash at my place tonight?" he offered. "We can order trashy food, throw on something dumb, pretend the world doesn't exist." I almost said no out of instinct, but then I nodded. "Yeah, I think I need that." He smiled. "Good, you can take the futon. But fair warning, it's still S**CKs. I laughed. Not much, just enough to remind myself I could. As we left the bar, I glanced at my phone. Still no message from her. And somehow that hurt more than if she'd sent 1,000 apologies. Because silence, real, intentional silence, sometimes says everything. I woke up on Jarrett's futon with a crick in my neck and the taste of cheap IPA still clinging to my mouth. Sunlight cut through the slats of the blinds and fell right across my face like some kind of cosmic punishment. Took me a minute to remember where I was, and why. Then it all came back. Savannah, Cade, the bedroom, the wine glasses, her hand on his knee. I sat up too fast and felt it immediately. Nausea, regret, and something heavier than both. Clarity. Jarrett was already in the kitchen, cooking eggs like nothing in the world was broken. That's how he was, steady. A lighthouse in a hurricane. He slid a plate my way when I walked in. "You sleep at all?" he asked without looking up. "Barely." He nodded like he'd expected that. "You want to talk?" "No," I said. "I want to do something." By noon, I had showered, borrowed a hoodie from Jarrett's closet, and was back in my car heading toward the place I least wanted to be, home. Not because I missed her, not because I was ready to talk, but because I needed answers. Real ones. Not the kind Savannah had served me with a fake smile and a glass of wine. I had a plan. I told her I wanted to meet, said we should talk, said I wasn't angry anymore, just confused. I played it calm, careful. Used phrases like, "I need closure," and "I'm not looking for a fight." Part of me felt sick even typing those words. But I knew her. I knew what she wanted to hear. I was baiting the hook. She replied within minutes. "Savannah. Of course. I'm glad you reached out. I want to talk too. Let me make us coffee." I told her I'd be there in an hour. When I walked through the front door, everything looked staged, like she'd tried to scrub the guilt off the walls. She'd lit one of those fancy candles she only uses when we have guests. And the living room was spotless. Not a wine glass in sight. She was wearing a soft sweater and jeans, comfortable, unthreatening. Like she'd dressed for the part of the remorseful wife. "Hey," she said, voice soft. "I'm really glad you came." I gave her a tight nod. "Yeah, me too." She handed me a mug of coffee like we were just two normal people having a civil conversation. I took it, set it down untouched. "I've been thinking," I said, "about everything." She sat on the edge of the couch like she was balancing on a wire. "So have I." "I don't want to yell," I said. "I'm not here to attack you. I just want the truth. All of it. No more stories." She nodded quickly. "I get that, and I'm ready to talk. Really." I let the silence hang for a beat, then leaned forward. You mind if I borrow your phone? Her face didn't twitch. Why? To show you something. A message I sent you a while back. I think I deleted it by accident. It was a lie. And she bought it. She reached for her phone on the coffee table and handed it to me without hesitation. Unlocked. I didn't flinch. I dropped the act instantly, set my coffee down, opened her messages. And there it was. Not just Cade. Peter, Max, Ronnie. Each one like a slap across the face. Names I'd never heard. Contacts without last names. Conversations full of emojis and heart icons and phrases like, "Last night was amazing," and "Can't wait for Thursday." Time-stamped photos. Hotel confirmations. Voice notes she never thought I'd hear. My hand trembled as I scrolled. My pulse thudded in my ears like war drums. One of the threads went back to early spring, the same time she said she was mentally checking out of work and needed solo time to recharge. Another one overlapped with our anniversary weekend, when she claimed to be visiting her sister. She hadn't cheated once. She hadn't even cheated twice. Savannah had lived an entire second life. A secret timeline running parallel to the one we built together. She wasn't lost. She wasn't confused. She was calculated. "You okay?" she asked, realizing something had shifted. I turned the phone around, let her see her own messages staring back at her. Her face drained of color. "Ben." I didn't yell, didn't raise my voice. I just said, "You weren't just with Cade." She opened her mouth, then closed it. Her breath caught in her throat. She looked like a cornered animal. "How long?" I asked, standing now, phone still in hand. "How long have you been doing this?" "Ben, I don't even know where to start." "How long?" I repeated. She pressed her hands to her temples like that would hold her brain together. "I don't know," she said. "A year? Maybe more. A year." My knees almost buckled. A year of lies. A year of pretending. A year of her looking me in the eye and telling me she loved me. My voice came out flat. "You were never going to tell me, were you?" "No," she said honestly for once. "I didn't know how." "That's because you weren't planning to." She didn't deny it. "I wanted to," she said after a pause. "But every time I thought about it, I saw the look on your face. I couldn't." "You mean the face of the guy you married?" I snapped. She flinched. I tossed her phone onto the couch. "You didn't make a mistake, Savannah. You made a series of choices. Over and over again. I know I messed up. Messed up is leaving the stove on. This is nuclear." She started crying then. The full body kind. Her shoulders shook, and her voice cracked, and I stood there staring at the woman I used to know, feeling absolutely nothing. I walked to the bedroom, grabbed a duffel bag from the closet and started throwing clothes into it. Shirts, socks, whatever I could reach. "Ben, wait, please." I zipped the bag. "I'm not doing this. Let's talk. Please, let's just talk." I walked out without looking back. She followed me to the door, barefoot, sobbing, pleading. She said she was sorry. Said she didn't mean to hurt me. Said she still loved me. But love doesn't look like that. Love doesn't lie for a year. Love doesn't fill your phone with strangers while your husband is planning your future. I stepped outside. The sky was cloudy, heavy. She called after me one last time. "Ben, please don't leave like this." I turned, looked her dead in the eye, and said the only thing that felt true anymore. "You destroyed it. Not me." Then I got in the car. And I drove. I only went back to the house one last time. Not for closure, not to talk, just to grab what was mine. Savannah was waiting, eyes swollen, clutching a tissue like it was armor. She started talking as soon as I walked in. Something about being in a dark place. How it wasn't about me. Her voice trembled like she expected me to fall apart too. But I didn't. I didn't even respond. I just packed. Toothbrush, jeans, old hoodie, charger. She begged, cried, pleaded for another chance. I zipped the bag, walked to the door. "You're the one who destroyed it all," I said quietly, and left. Her scream followed me down the steps. But I didn't turn back. That was the moment I knew